Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PWT Talks NXT. I'm your host. I'm Kelly Wells. We are talking NXT for March the 10th, 2026. I head to Dallas Card Show, so I'm going to say the same thing I always do when I'm heading tomorrow to the Dallas Card Show. I don't have time for this, um, especially this time because I go tomorrow to the card show. I come back. Ideally, I will do this show on Tuesday. But on Thursday, I am leaving for Ireland after that. So amazing that I will not have missed any of this show to that point, but I definitely will miss one while I'm in Ireland because I'll be there for 9 days. Um, yeah, so it's gonna be a heck of a march for this dude. I'm gonna be hardly around, but yes, I've been all around the torch today and yesterday. I talked Raw with Wade Keller last night, who I thought was going to Ireland on the same trip because we have kids in the same school, in the same class, interested in the same stuff. But he's not because he's staying home because he loves all of you and he's going to be here for these shows. Um, so yeah, if you want to see me in a semi dignified night where I found myself unable to get all thirsty, to stop getting all thirsty for Stephanie Becker, then go ahead, check it out. She does that to me, folks. That's all I can say. So we are talking NXT for March 10th, and yeah, main event. Your two singles male champions, Joe Hendry and Miles Bourne, having a match against Ricky Saints and Ethan Page. Goodfella 1422 in the chat says, "Oh come on, fun show, easy to watch. Still don't like they pin champions all the time. You had to do it here. That's what that story was about. They don't NXT doesn't do it all the time, and in fact, they don't do it much at all. And I think that people maybe don't notice that because this is a company that used to do that all the time, but they have not done a lot of that. But this match was entirely about that. It was about which heel was going to pin which babyface, and Paige poached the win from Saints, who at first was happy that they won, and then he realized what had really happened with Paige pinning the top champion of the brand, Joe Hendry. So your main event, 11:09, which was actually only the third longest match of the night. Um, the heels beat the faces in a match that really is a very, very Monday Night Raw 90s tag main event affair. I mean, that's really what I thought the entire time I watched this. Nate, who are you, and what did you think about our main event?
I have no idea who I am right now, but I think I'm Nate Lindberg. You can check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. Technical thing, real quick. I think you might have an issue with your mic. You're coming in super, super quiet. I just realized I had my volume up almost at max. So I'm probably coming in very loud compared to you for people that are listening. Um, but yeah, main event: Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, Joe Hendry's, Miles Bourne. Um, I- like, okay, cool. I just got confirmation. Jobin's listening, and they just let me know that that is the case on Discord. Um, so yes, yes. But yeah, main event. Like Pile Driver Pete pointed out, it's not fun to always pin the champions, but like Kelly said, I think this is kind of one of those places where it definitely worked. You kind of had to go about it this way, um, especially where Ethan and Ricky were not necessarily on the same page for the entirety of the match. We saw that starting last week at the end of last week's episode, when Paige, or sorry, that was Vengeance Day. Wow. So the other day on Vengeance Day, when Ethan threw the belt at Ricky and missed, and Ricky didn't actually get it. Um, so kind of wondering coming into this match, are they going to be on the same page? Are they not going to be on the same page? Whatnot? And obviously that was kind of the story of the match. So I feel like it was a little almost predictable that you think oh, of course, Ethan Page and Miles Bourne are going to walk away with this. So I think giving the heels the advantage, or giving heels the win here, made the most sense. Um, I'm really curious to see how this winds up playing out because I don't think this little internal rivalry between Ethan Page and Ricky Saints is over by any stretch of imagination. I'm assuming it's either going to. Whoa! I just heard myself. That was weird. Um, but yeah, I'm assuming I can still hear myself. Kelly, can you mute yourself for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I was messing around with your microphone settings. I think it's my own fault. All right, there we go. I think now we're probably good. Anyway, um, I completely lost my train of thought, which is not hard to do on a normal day, and I got way too much on my head right now. But oh, I think this is probably going to a triple threat between Ricky Saints and Miles Bourne and Joe Hendry, or they're going to have Ricky Saints maybe try to recapture the North American title and maybe have Ethan go for the NXT title or something along those lines. But one way or another, I feel like these four are going to be married to each other for a little while. And I'm okay with that. I think they've got some good chemistry. And right now, they're kind of clearly pushing these four as kind of the faces of the men's division, which, for Joe Hendry, Ethan Page, and Ricky Saints, that makes, like, I don't think anybody would you turn their nose up to that on paper. Miles Bourne is kind of the outlier. He doesn't necessarily have the same name value, but he is that homegrown talent as opposed to the other three that kind of made their name outside of WWE. I'm super happy to see Miles Bourne in that position. Mixing it up with these guys and for everything that he's overcome in his life to get to where he is right now. I don't know. I just think it's really cool. It's inspiring, and I really am. I'm on the Miles Bourne train here. So yeah, I don't think I have much more to say about the main event. I think it was, I don't know, relatively self-explanatory, and I think it kind of opens up quite a few different possibilities for, to see where the story or stories between these four people go.
Yeah, and the one thing there is that Tony D'Angelo also looms large as one of those main event figures. So it will be some collection of those five guys, and they will figure that out. I got to ask, am I still quiet, or did I fix what I did with the stuff that I did?
To me, you sound better, but we'll let the listeners let us know.
Okay. Yeah, I literally just unplugged and plugged in again because that is the solution to most of IT's problems. So
Yep.
that is what we did. Yeah. So Tony D'Angelo, might as well talk about him now. He came out. He said the stuff that we knew he was going to say. He did phase one. Phase two is steel underpants, and phase four is profit. So we knew that we were going to get this at some point. He said that he wants to be the world champion. He went home. He looked at the man in the mirror and decided that he couldn't win a championship, but this version of him can because he's got better music and gear. I mean, that's what this is. So, you guys have heard me kind of fawn over Tony a little in comparison to what I've done throughout the last 5 years, over the past 4 or 5 weeks. I'm not sure if I'm ready for Tony D'Angelo NXT champion because I'm not sure that he's good enough because we haven't seen a long form match from him last week or a few days ago. We saw him do a lot with Dion Lennox. And I thought that he did a good job of doing the babyface put over a heel thing where it's, I despise that man, but at least he went out on his shield. Uh, I once again really liked Tony on the mic here, and the mic was never really the big problem for him. The gimmick was, but him talking was not a stumbling block. to his success. His wrestling was a stumbling block because he was dead ass boring. He has not been boring since he got back, but in a 14 to 18-minute championship match on a show, he's that's where we need to figure out if he can really do his thing. And I'm going to be nervous about it until I see it, just because I've kept this dude at arm's length for a really long time. But once again, it was a really good outing for Tony. He did good stuff on the mic, and the only issue is I don't see how he and the other storyline that the other four guys are doing all work in concert for Stand and Deliver. Like, is he being saved for afterwards? Or is are the other four guys getting their stuff out of the way really quick and he's going to Stand and Deliver? Because Stand and Deliver has typically been a show that blows off some major feud. But in this case, we don't have one. The closest thing we have to something like that is Saints and Page, and they are only in chapter 1, chapter 2, maybe. So so on Tony and his promo and how he fits into this, Nate.
First off, got to say hey to Brian and CJ, who just came in and said hey. So there we go. Wanted to say hey to you guys. I really liked this from Tony D'Angelo. Now, we talked about this a few weeks back when he comes out and he says that, he came back for two reasons, one of which was to get back at Dark State, and he'd let us know the rest of them. But I think we kind of, or at least I kind of assumed it was going to be the NXT Championship. I'm pretty sure I said it on the show, don't know, but pretty sure I did. But I kind of assumed it was going to be the NXT Championship, because what else really does he have left to do in NXT? Other than maybe get the Heritage Cup, but he did get the Heritage Cup and the North American title and the tag titles, get promoted, get called up, I guess, yeah. But so yeah, NXT Championship, that wasn't a surprise when he said it. However, I'm still glad that he said it. I really like this version of Tony D'Angelo. I said this on the VIP roundtable after Vengeance Day that Kelly Paul Eagle and I recorded. Or Weigel? Oh man, now I don't remember. Paul, I'm sorry. We do this every time.
It's Weigel.
All right.
I thought it was Weigel, and he said Weigel. So when I introduced him, I said, right. Hey, I'm here with Paul. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Nailed.
As soon as I said it, I was like, I think I pronounced it wrong. But anyway, I said this the other day on the VIP roundtable. I'm still worried about this character when he gets called up to the when and if he gets called up to the main roster. That was my big worry about the mafioso character. It kind of worked in NXT in that small, more intimate environment, but I really didn't think it was going to translate to the main roster, and I kind of have a feeling that internally they felt the same way, because, well, that version of Tony D'Angelo is dead. This version of Tony D'Angelo, I'm also a little bit worried about, because again, what I said on the VIP roundtable, his mission was to come back and destroy Dark State. Now, granted, I guess it's also to capture the NXT Championship. But I feel like as long as he has a mission and something to fight for, this character works. Once that goes away, if he just gets called up to the main roster without a story, and doesn't immediately have some sort of a mission to be there, I feel like this character could just kind of flounder. That said, we're not there yet, so that's all speculation. I too am wondering where he's going to fit in to the main event men's title scene as we get closer to Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver is apparently on April 4th, 2026 this year, so we're less than a month away. I don't see them paying off this whole angle between Hendry, Page, Saints, and Bourne before then, and nor do I think they should pay that off. So the only thing that I can really think of is Tony D'Angelo just injects himself into the story by attacking them at random, as he has been wanting to do over the last handful of weeks with Dark State. And he just kind of comes out. I mean, he did tell Joe Hendry that he should be in this promo. He told Joe Hendry that he needs to be prepared for his actions. So maybe he attacks Joe Hendry or all of the above. Who knows? And somehow gets himself injected into this match. It maybe gets turned into something like a 5-way or maybe 6-way if they put somebody else in the match, ladder match or something like that for stand and deliver. That I don't know. There's part of me that's kind of like that might be cool, but I also would probably prefer to see a singles match for the NXT Championship over a multi-person match like that. But uh, that's the only thing I can think of if they inject him into this before stand and deliver. And it seems like they're doing that because they brought it up tonight. So, oh, actually, yeah, you know what? I forgot about that. Ryan just brought this up in the chat. Tony already attacked Joe Hendry when he came back. So there is that. They may wind up going back to that too, especially where Tony did mention he was coming for Hendry tonight. So maybe he kind of, or maybe Joe, I don't know, makes up a song about the attack or something. I don't know. That'd be cool. Yeah, I don't have much more to say, I don't think, about this. I really like the direction for Tony D'Angelo, and I'm kind of hoping he stays with this intensity because, man, after that match at Vengeance Day, which turned Kelly, I mean, so it was that good. I think he does
I
have
was
what it takes.
mid-turn, but Vengeance Day was so much fun. They booked it absolutely gloriously.
Yeah,
From the parking lot into a match that I thought would be like 1.5 minutes when it got to the ring, but they went 7 once they got to the ring, and really both kind of captured the moment.
yep, no, for sure. So yeah, we'll see what happens. See what happens.
Tatum Paxley, she is popular, gang. She really, really ingratiates herself to the crowd, but she's so likable. I think she's getting away with it. She is your new NXT Women's North American Champion, and opened the show after they did a brief rundown of Vengeance Day, ending with her match. They went in order other than her match, and then ended with her match so they could transition into her opening the show. Talking about how she won her first championship for Izzy, but she won this championship for herself and for the crowd. The crowd just loves Tatum because why would you not? And then Izzy Dame showed up, and I thought it was an awesome touch that Tatum was like, "Oh God, go away!"
Yeah,
Like just the perfect response when Tatum has just not, when Izzy has not been able to just leave. Eventually, the two guys from the calling distract her, and she gets beat down by Izzy. She looks everywhere for Izzy, and then Tatum gets Shiloh Hill to help, and he's got a tire iron. He was like, "Oh yeah, I can stop her from leaving." And then he has a bonker scene where he has destroyed everybody's car, all taken out all their tires just because he didn't know which car was Izzy's. And he screams at Rob Stone, who can't hear him. They go inside and he screams again, which is hilarious to me. I love Shiloh Hill so much. I could eat him. Um, and 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 Rob Stone says, we're inside now. You can just talk to me. He says, "Hey, she's not leaving, but I mean, technically nobody is, I don't think." And then he
well, first
shakes
he
his head.
shouted.
Tyra, oh, yes, I know. The shout was what I love so much. And so they're finding something for Shiloh to do, even when they don't know what he's going to do in the ring next. And Tatum finally finds Izzy. They brawl a little at the end, and Stone says, "Okay, cage match next week in Houston." So yeah, they're going to get a little more out of these two, which why not? It's been a good feud that has produced really good matches that have elevated both of them. Might as well do one more. before whatever they're going to do next with these two. And what they're going to do next with Tatum is Blake Monroe. We know that because Blake Monroe had her scene with Blake Howard where she told him to change his name because it belongs to her, which I thought was awesome. And I hoped that they were going to do in that scene. But at any rate,
Same.
Tatum, Izzy, Shiloh, Blake. Talk to me, Nate.
God, I loved this so much. So, starting the show, Tatum comes out and basically kind of warms up to the crowd by saying, she did this, she won this for us, for the fans and for her. Which I thought was good, a good face, type promo. It is something. As much as I love Tatum, I feel like she just says the same thing all the time. When she's talking with the crowd, and this is no different. She's kind of said basically this exact same thing before in so many words. So it is what it is, more of a nitpick than anything, but those are my thoughts. I did like the visual of Izzy holding the title up, after she beat down Tatum. I thought it was a nice touch, even though, I don't know, I kind of would like to see Tatum as more of a stronger champion, I guess. But regardless, that I think that worked to get some more sympathy on Tatum and some more heat on Izzy. The stuff with Shiloh Hill, man, Shiloh and Tatum is a pairing that I didn't know I wanted until now. Because as soon as I saw them on TV together, I was like, oh yes, please, yes, let's go. Because they're both just so unique and out there that I think there could be a lot of fun had if they're not, officially in a team, at least aligned, they're friends, and we get a little bit more of them on screens. I think that would make for some fun TV.
When they did their boisterous laugh together, I was like, this might actually be it.
Yeah.
This might be it. Yeah.
As much as I did like him with Hank and Tank, and I mean, I guess you could still have him kind of aligned with Hank and Tank too, but this stuff with Izzy, not Izzy, Tatum rather, I thought was, even though it was shorter, I think I don't know, I thought personally it was more entertaining. Also, quick note, did you notice what Shiloh was doing at that workbench? He was repairing a bow, like a bow and arrow bow. When he had the tie-in iron.
I was typing. I didn't see that, but you say that, and it's the only person on the roster where it doesn't surprise me to hear that.
Right? Like it was hilarious. He's a treasure. He really is. That whole scene in the parking lot and then coming back inside was just chef kiss. He played that off so well. The cage match, I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm kind of hoping maybe Shiloh is in Tatum's corner or at least has her back because, a cage match is meant to keep people out, but how often does it really? Very rarely. So I'm kind of expecting the culling to wind up in the ring at some point, climb the cage or, try to help Izzy out. And maybe Shiloh comes in to even the odds or something like that. Or maybe even we get like Lyra Valkyria, run in or something like that to help her former friend out or old friend out or whatever you want to call her. So yeah, no, thumbs up for me for all around for this. Very entertaining, and it really gives me some hope to see some more interaction between Tatum and Shiloh because that was hilarious.
All right, you can email us at pwtorchnxt@gmail.com. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of those because normally we have one. This week we have three. So let's start with Steve Repsher. Greetings, I presume, Kelly and Nate. I'll probably be missing tonight's live stream since I'll be returning from the quarterly wrestling trivia night at Jimmy's Famous Seafood in Baltimore. Yes.
I'm only jealous a little bit.
And I'm not because I can't eat seafood or I would die. But I bet it is good because I like the smell. But if I smell it too long, I will be in trouble town.
For every seafood you don't eat, I'll eat 3.
Yeah, go do it, man. I hereby bequeath you my amount of seafood that I
Beautiful.
cannot eat. However, I'm concerned about recent developments in the presentation and stature of NXT's PLEs. Let me give you a list. Vengeance Day, done seemingly on the quick, quite underpromoted, and stayed home at the PC. Stand and Deliver moved off Mania weekend, shifted into a 2,500 seat venue, and now being done directly opposite the NCAA men's basketball Final Four. This shift of S&D means the Tuesday show at the theater at MSG is now the go home show to the biggest PLE of the year, and they've stopped calling it Roadblock. On top of all that, so they got rid of Roadblock, but not Vengeance Day? Okay. Steve continues. On top of all that, we have the impending expiration of the Peacock deal for NXT PLEs. Reporting is sketchy as to whether Vengeance or S&D is the last PLE of the current deal. Are my concerns warranted? If the PLEs do leave Peacock, where would you like to see them end up? Netflix is my choice. Mine too, because please not somewhere that we're not already getting for NXT. My situation in life right now is pretty good, and I'm basically subscribed to everything. So it's fine for me. That is not the situation for a large amount of fans, and they've got to pick and choose what they can do. I'm very established in life. I'm 48, and I'm enjoying the best couple of years of my life. And it wasn't very long ago that this would have broken me, and I almost would have just walked in, like 5 years ago. I almost would have had to walk away from the company because of my inability to see all the content I would have wanted to see, which would have been a real pain. So I don't know. I don't think that Vengeance Day was super done on the quick, but maybe I'm only saying that because the actual finished product was so good. Stand and Deliver, we'll have to see. Jury's out on that. I'm fine with NXT being small, but as for where it lands, I'm going to ask you because I know that you're in the middle of buying a house, but you've got more concerns because I'm much older and we're just kind of at different points. So just let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, so I am of the camp that I really don't I don't subscribe to any streaming services for the most part. I subscribe to Netflix simply to watch WWE. And as Goodfella pointed out in the chat, if it wasn't for Stephanie McMahon telling me about a VPN, I'd be toast. That was one of my favorite moments in recent podcast history was Stephanie touting a VPN, but that's a story for another day. So I watch all of my content on Netflix. And actually, it's funny that we bring this up today because starting last week, Netflix, every single commercial break, Netflix does a check to see if you're on a VPN. And if you are, it goes, hey, you're on a VPN. Please turn this off so you can keep watching. And I have to disable my VPN and reconnect the VPN so I get a different IP address, and then it works again until the next commercial break. So I may, like, if Netflix all of a sudden, like, says, hey, if you use VPNs, we're canceling your subscription or blah, blah, blah. I'm going to need to wind up subscribing to another service. And I'm not paying $30 a month for ESPN. I'm absolutely not doing it because I don't watch sports. The only thing I watch is fake sports. I watch wrestling. So yeah, I really hate this current model, this monetization that WWE is going for to try and get all of these different contracts from, Peacock, ESPN, whatever other streaming services that they might be trying to go for, whatever cable deals they might be trying to go for in the, not that I think they are going back to cable, but you know what I mean? I guess they still are on cable, so I take that back. If NXT winds up going to ESPN, I have a big decision to make. Do I spend the $30 a month that is now more precious to me because I will be a homeowner and my bills are about to double a month? Or do I sail the seven seas, if you will, to watch NXT each week? And while I know how to do that and I know where to go for that, it's not reliable, and I need something reliable to do the show. So I don't know. I'm I'm really hoping it stays on NXT. PLEs go to Netflix, because that way I can just watch them without a VPN. No big deal. Yeah. As far as the other parts of the email here, I don't know. I hadn't thought much about the kind of, I guess, presentation and stature, as Steve puts in his email, of NXT PLEs, as of late, really. Um, they always kind of, I don't know, they always feel big if you're an NXT fan, but I guess if you're more on the periphery or whatever, maybe they don't. Um, it's I do feel like Vengeance Day was a little under promoted. It wound up being a great show, but I only remember seeing it on the main, like seeing promotions on the main roster like a couple times. Um, and if you're not promoting, only a fraction of WWE fans watch NXT. So if you're not promoting NXT and their PLEs on the main roster, you can't really drive people to watch it. So I do feel like they could probably do a better job promoting the PLEs. Um, I did also think Stand and Deliver getting moved off of Mania weekend was a choice. There's so much wrestling that happens on Mania weekend that there's part of me that's kind of like, good. There's one less show to watch that weekend.
All of me is like good.
Yeah,
I'll actually be able to watch it as it happens, almost certainly. And I haven't been able to watch Stand and Deliver as it happened in like 5 years.
yeah. So it, in that sense, I think it is good. But then at the same time, it also, I think, does give that vibe that this show isn't good enough for Mania weekend. To some fans may kind of take that away from them moving it off of Mania weekend. So I don't know. I I think there might be something to it, like to what Steve's bringing up, but other than pure speculation and my thoughts right now, that's really all I can say.
Yeah, there were a couple of comments that were wildly pro WWE Network in the chat,
Oh
and
my God, I
I
missed the
could
WWE
not agree
Network so
more.
much.
I loved the interface. I loved the way it looked. I loved the way it played. I loved the way that it broke down matches. I loved it so much, and it was the best way. And we had Utopia, and they were like, "To hell with Utopia! Let's blow it all up and go to hell." Oh, okay. Emails. Let's go to Kevin Catani. Greetings and salutations, gents. Woo! That was a frenetic episode, if I do say so myself. Action in the arena, action backstage, and action in our beloved parking lot. A lot going on. If you're not writing the recap, wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah, recaps are tough during triple threats and tag matches and multi-man matches. He continues, my two questions this week are, now that Charlie Dempsey has finally joined the Lexus King faction, what is the ceiling for this group? I think I lean on the green side, but generational talent always has a story to tell, in my humble opinion. Secondly, now that she's getting a bit more TV time, what height is our beloved Ren Sinclair bound for? Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to more Torch, especially last night's Raw post show if you want to hear more of Kelly and a guest spot from CJ. Office hours are over. The professor, Kevin Catani, PhD. Yes, CJ did show up because Bailey won a 45-minute gauntlet match. I expected her to, by the way. I thought it was time for her to pick up this kind of win. But yeah, I turned out to be right. And yeah, it was fun covering that with Wade and talking main roster, which we had been trying to do for a while, but had not been able to line up on. Yeah, I think that you've been calling the group Birthright, and I've just been calling them the unnamed faction because in my reporting, that's what I should do because they are unnamed. But yeah, they need a name.
They did seem to actually call them Birthright like once or twice. Vic brought that up
Tonight.
I
Okay.
think I think once was on Vengeance Day and again once tonight.
Okay. So let's
I
see if
don't.
they're
Yeah,
gonna go with that. Yeah, I thought that this was. We knew that Dempsey was going to go there. We'll have to see what they actually do because you can make any faction you want, and you can make it seem like they're important by continuing to add members. But Bullet Club did that for a long time. They had 17 members 2 years ago, and now they don't exist because they realized just adding members is not the way to go. And Bullet Club, after a good decade or so in the sun, is no more. They do not exist. But yeah, that's
they could have taken a lesson from NWO.
yeah, they could, and but they took every lesson from NWO, the good and the bad. Um, so I think that Dempsey being in the group does not change much of their ceiling. I'm that weirdo who thinks the one with the highest ceiling in the group is Uriah Connors. I really do. I'm sorry.
All
Or
right.
Oriana. Or Oriana. I think that those are the two that have the highest ceiling. Dempsey is the best wrestler. King has a lot going for him. And he's being presented as the star. Stacks is Stacks. I think he's good-ish, but I think that Uriah could break out, and I think that Ariana Grace is the kind of person who could be. She could have a job forever because she's really funny and she's really good looking. So how do you how do you go wrong with that breakdown? As for his other question, what height is our beloved Ren Sinclair bound for? I hope it's high because Ren is also really funny and she's also really lovable. She was in there against Thea Hale tonight. Um, Beat her in 155, and the crowd was chanting for Ren the entire time. Um, this was, and they had a match that was whatever. Thea could not snap on the Kimura lock, but Ren was able to hit her with the final wrench and knock her off in just a buck 55, which is short even for one of these. So as for the birthright group and Ren Sinclair, and I'm just going to roll in that match with Thea Hale, where Ren is about to face Fallon Henley.
Sure. So, okay. First, Charlie Dempsey and the Birthright faction. I don't know if it necessarily changes things for them either, although I think it does probably make them a little bit stronger to have somebody like Charlie Dempsey in the faction. Um, what what I think is going to be a little bit of a giveaway on what the ceiling for this faction is whether or not Fit Finley and William Regal still stick around. They came out tonight and just kind of stood there on the ramp like menacingly, and I thought that because like Uriah Connors like referred to his dad earlier in the night, and they've brought up Charlie's dad, but with the exception of Vengeance Day, which is the first time they actually dropped the names of who their fathers were, they'd only just said your dad, my dad, our dads, whose dad, your dad, and it was all just kind of ambiguous, like if you know, you know. But now you see two bona fide legends. I mean, I think William Regal probably a bit more so popularity wise, but Fit did nothing to take away from Fit Finley, especially with a lot of the stuff that he's done backstage and behind the scenes with the women's division and things like that. But to see two bona fide legends come out and support this group, if they stick around and are maybe either mouthpieces or even just managers for the group, then maybe the ceiling is a little bit higher than if they don't stick around. So we'll see. But I am so hoping that they wind up sticking around for a little while. Although there is a part of me that is hoping that they don't, and then they rename William Regal as NXT general manager, since Stone is just the interim general manager. That will not happen, I'm sure, but a man can dream. Um, what was the other question? Oh, Ren Sinclair's ceiling. I'm with Kelly. I hope it's higher than it is, or I hope it's higher than where she is right now. Um, but I could kind of see her being lower mid card for the majority of her career unless there's some big breakout moment. I hate saying that, but I just kind of feel like that's the lane that she's in right now. And as we found out from WWE Unreal and the whole Chelsea Green and the doot guy, um, it's there are those lanes and there are those ceilings, which we knew, but we saw confirmed in that episode of Unreal with Michael Hayes. So yeah, I think that as much as I hate to say it, I don't know if her ceiling is going to be much higher than where it is right now. I hope it is. I really hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. As far as the match went, I thought it was a good match for what it was. Really quick, kind of hard for them to even get into any sort of real gear because of it being a speed match and it ending, I think, with like a minute and 20 or something left. But I said it last week, and I'll say it again. No matter who won this match, I was going to be happy about it because I feel like both Ren and Thea could use, kind of a bit of a push like that. There's part of me that was thinking that might be Thea to go over. I feel like she might need it a bit more, but I was really kind of torn. I didn't know who. I really didn't know who was necessarily going to go over here. Ren Sinclair, good choice to go up against Fallon Henley. That should be a good match. We saw her, Ren and Fallon have a bit of a backstage moment where Ren was like, "Hey, I just beat Thea and the other person she beat in 3 minutes. I can't remember who that other person was right now. In 3 minutes, I should definitely be able to beat you in 5." Oh, Nikita. That's why I couldn't remember. I just take her and scrub her out of my brain every week.
I wish I could.
Yeah. So I think that should definitely be a good match. One thing that, since we're talking about Thea Hale, I'm going to pause for a moment and bring this up. Thea posted an absolutely heartbreaking post on Instagram earlier in the week after getting just inundated with hate comments on social media, and it kind of broke her. And I mean, she was in tears talking about it. She's like, "I'm a 22-year-old girl. Like, what are you guys thinking?" If you're one of those people, don't be, because you suck. And if you're not one of those people, I don't know, maybe go out.
Yeah, so you're wrong. Like you're
I know.
wrong. Oh.
I know. And even though, like, I was looking through some of the comments on that video, and there's so much positivity, coming her way. It's, especially when you're that young, it's so easy to focus on the negative, and age doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it, but I think it is just human nature to focus on the negatives. But yeah, I don't know, maybe go out of your way to post something positive on one of her Instagram posts or something like that. But yeah, my main message is, don't be an asshole on the internet, because like, you wouldn't say it in real life, so don't do it on the internet. Why be a dick to somebody just to be a dick to somebody? So that's me I'm stepping down off my box now.
Yeah, I did not roll in the Dempsey and Heights versus King and Connors match, but I mean, we kind of did. So I'm calling it covered because we talked about what we needed to talk about there.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say about
our last email is from Brian Alston. Brian from Phoenix, 35 years, senior Torch VIP subscriber. Hello, Nate and Kelly. I know you already discussed this, but I love the interactions between Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, especially the locker room talks. Page's facials have been incredible. I am a huge mark when heels are friends, not just because they are managed by the same advocate, like the Bloodline or groups like Judgment Day, but random friendships. So I'm a fan of Page, Saints, and Vanity Project being pals. An old school example is in 1985 and 1986. Randy Savage and Jesse Ventura were friends and teamed up a couple of times. Question: what are your thoughts on heels being friends? Number two, do you have any random heel friendships that you liked? Quick shout out to Kevin Katani, PhD. Thanks, and I miss NXT 8 years back. So do I, and I miss Tom. And I got to text him more because it has been like we've found reasons, but I need to find more. I miss 8 years back a lot. I really miss it a lot. Okay, so my thoughts on heels being friends. Don't do it all the time, but it's really fun when you do it as a result. There's a reason the Sinister Six has never gone away. It's very, very interesting, but there's also a reason the Sinister Six have a lot of internal battling because there's no honor among thieves, and they all want their own stuff, and they're supposed to do whatever they can to get it. And that's the no honor among thieves story is what they're telling with Saints and Page. They are trying to out despicable one another, and we know that Page is going to win the most despicable contest. So I like these interactions kind of a lot, but I also like that there's a hard cap on what these friendships can do, because if they start to run into this, if they're all going to the same dance, they're not going to accept one another. So I like seeing it too every now and then. But I also like that it inevitably it has to come to blows because there's no honor among thieves. Nate, on this email.
Yes. So I also, I mean, I'm also just a big fan. Like, I was talking about earlier, of you, granted they're faces, but I was talking about Shiloh Hill being, affiliated with Hank and Tank, maybe potentially being affiliated going forward with Tatum Paxley, but not as part of like a team. I think it works on both sides of the fence, both heels and faces. But I do think it probably works a little bit better with the heels because heels are always looking to get heat. And then, since they're looking to get heat, like now they've got somebody in their corner to help them, win a match and kind of put one over on somebody else and kind of get that heat. So yeah, definitely a fan there. And especially of Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. I think, because of their history in AEW, it works. But not only just their history, but also the characters that they play. They're very different, but they're also very similar at the same time. And they're even if they didn't have that history in AEW, I could still see these two iterations of Ricky and Ethan, being affiliated and being friends. So I do I really enjoy it. I'm racking my brain trying to think of a random heel friendship that I liked because I'm sure there are some that I'm not thinking about right
Let
now,
me
but
do the randomest of the random. I've brought this
yes.
up on Royal Rumble shows before, but in Royal Rumble 2002, Christian and Chuck, when it was Billy and Chucky, Christian and Chuck team up to eliminate 3 different baby faces.
Mm.
Christian, who was on his own with At Last You're on Your Own, which was
I see what you did there.
great music, by the way. And Chuck,
Christian.
yes, they team up to do that. And I love that they had 2 heels that were a marriage of convenience that eliminated some people. They don't do that enough. And they did that years later in the women's where Billy, what was her name when she was in the Iconics? Billy Kay.
Billy Kay. Peyton Royce and Billy Kay.
Yeah, Billy Kay was trying to audition people to be friends with her, and she's like trying to shake their hand, and they're walking by her, and she just stands there with the hand outstretched. She's a freaking national treasure, by the way, international treasure because she's not from here. But she, and then finally, Jill, oh gosh, what was her name? She had the thing on her face, and then she was just like the failed
Oh,
pop star.
Jillian Hall.
Um,
Is that
Jillian
her?
Hall. Jillian Hall shows up and she goes, "How about Billy and Jilly?" Billy's like, "I love it," and so they run into into the ring, and Billy Kay and Jillian Hall team up for their entire run in the Royal Rumble. I don't even know which year that was or which woman won. I know all the winners, but um, but when that when that moment comes up, oh man, I adored it. I really really dug that. So another one that is among the most random of the random.
Yeah. I guess one of them that I liked, and I don't know if Kurt was necessarily a heel at this time. I'm trying to remember, but Stone Cold and Kurt Angle. Like Stone Cold was a heel, even though nobody was necessarily booing him. But man, that was not only was that hilarious, it just I don't know, it made for a good
Oh, there
pairing.
was an episode where they're both wearing undersized cowboy hats,
Oh, God,
and
that's kind of like the main thing I'm talking about. Yeah.
yes, oh God, I'm so glad you remember that because
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was a fever dream I had.
No, no.
Um,
Actually, so I don't know, maybe a couple months back now, uh, Kurt Angle happened to be about 5 minutes from my house doing a meet and greet. So a friend of mine and I went, and my buddy Conrad was like, that was one of the first things he said to Kurt was, "I loved the cowboy hat." And apparently Stone Cold was actually just out and about earlier in the day, like knew that he was going to have that segment, found the cowboy hat and was like, "Oh, I need to buy this and make Kurt wear it." And
yeah.
that's how that came to be.
And it's amazing because Kurt mocked them on the show before when he was going to face, I don't know if it was JBL or whatever. He was like, "And what's with the cowboy?" It might have been JR. He was like, "It's not Halloween and you're not 5 years old anymore." And I've said that to everyone I know who wears a cowboy hat because I'm kind of a dick that way.
I mean, plus
uh,
you're in Minnesota. Like,
yeah,
why would you
yes.
wear a cowboy hat in Minnesota? When you go
Plus,
to
I also don't
Dallas, it's a
believe
different
it.
story. Yeah.
I in Dallas, you don't want to say too much. You don't go anti-Texas to Texans. You just don't.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna have to keep my mouth shut when I go to Dallas, but that's just me.
Texas is large. It's real big. Okay, so there's two matches we haven't talked about, and they're the two longest ones. Sol Ruka versus Laney Reed. Who had Laney Reed being in the longest match of the week on their bingo card? I did not, but they're going hard with Laney. Gave her 12.56 against Sol Ruka, which is more than women of higher stature have gotten. But of course, Sol won this one. So foregone conclusion, other than the fact that you could have them cost Sol Ruka just to put some sizzle on the match and make it more unlikely that Sol was going to win. But I did think that they would play this straight and have her beat Laney Reed. And she did. She won with the Soul Snatcher, but Laney Reed did fight off the Soul Snatcher once, which most women don't get to do. Laney is pretty good in the ring. She's fairly okay on the mic. And so, yeah, there was this. Sol Ruka, I mean, she's more or less a heel in this storyline. She's been such a butthole to Zarya, and Zarya is right to be mad at her. But Sol is really good at the stuff that they ask her to do. She also had her scene with Lola Vice earlier, but Sol Ruka versus Laney Reed. This got the crossover spot, and and yeah, and Laney produced in a big spot.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised it got the spot that it did. I mean, granted, looking at everything else on the card, I don't know really what else you would have put there, but um, maybe the opening match. But we'll get to the opening match, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, this was really good. One of the things I did write down, Laney Reed's gotten a lot better, and I don't think she was ever bad. I feel like her and Soul had some good chemistry. They worked pretty good together. Um, And honestly, I didn't even realize this was the longest match of the night. It didn't feel like it. And I mean that in a good way. Like I got into it. Matter of fact, I know I got into it because I didn't take any notes. So there's that. Um, I was I was kind of expecting Soul to go over here after getting kind of actually, no, sorry, that was 2 weeks ago. I was thinking when she got beaten down by Zarya. That was but no, that wasn't last week. Time flies, wow. But I still was kind of expecting Soul to go over here. However, I was expecting to see Zarya somewhere in the match. I didn't know if maybe she was going to wind up coming out and aligning with Fatal Influence and not like joining, but like, continuing to kind of align herself. Well, I wouldn't say continuing, but maybe align herself, a common enemy in Soul Ruka. So, she comes out or something and the distraction goes wrong and Soul picks up the win or something like that. That was kind of my thought going into the match, but I'm kind of glad they played it the way they did. Fatal Influence obviously did try to get some, interject themselves in the match a couple times, but largely it was, it was a relatively clean win. So I think the company is pretty high on Laney. I mean, first off, they put her in Fatal Influence, which is a high-profile spot in the women's division in the first place. But like you said, to give her not only the longest match of the night, but also put her in one of the most important spots tonight in the crossover segment. I think that says a lot. So uh, I I don't know. I think it worked. I think it worked. And definitely looking forward to Soul, Zarya, and JC once we get there.
Your opening match is a triple threat between Sean Legacy, Eli Knight, and Jasper Troy. This one went 12:04, so it was a little longer than your main event, but not as long as your crossover match. Jasper Troy was taken out early-ish by Keanu Carter, who got a very warm, nice reception because when somebody is this dominant, that's the response they get. And Keanu Carter looks cool. he looks like he'd be cool. So that is part of it too. So this anti-establishment thing he's doing, like I didn't compare it in the sense of like how high he could go or anything like that. But he's essentially Stone Cold Steve Austin as a character. I mean, that
Yeah.
is what's going on. Because he's anti-establishment and doesn't care what anybody thinks, and now the crowd's embracing him because of that, and that's what's happening. And I think that they might find that they have a super baby face on their hand, and I hope they're not going to act surprised. Real Legend says, I missed it. Why did Keanu throw Jasper through a table? I don't know if I know either, but I think that Keanu just wants to be in a big spot, and this was the big spot he chose. This one had a couple of missteps where Jasper could not get up his opponents as well as one might think. The times where he showed off his power were very impressive, and the times where his power failed were real problematic. And I can't
Yep.
remember somebody having this kind of issues looking like a monster since very early Nikita Lyons. And Nikita's not
Mm.
having those issues anymore because they're not asking her to do those spots anymore. She's doing other things. So the things she was extremely bad at, they're not having her do. So she's boring now, but she doesn't look like she doesn't have the ability to do it because they're just they removed the part of her game that weren't working. But for a guy like Jasper Troy, who looks like Jasper Troy, if you can't do those super huge feats of strength, I don't know where there's room for you at all. So this match, the things that went well for him went really well, but the things that went badly for him, I think, are genuinely concerning. He was the only one who did not win this match because they had Legacy and Knight pin him at the same time, which is there's no There's no precedent for this, but they got away with it a little bit because they were both underdog baby faces. So I think it was mildly okay. And I love them trying new things, even if they're weird new things. So Legacy and Knight win a singles match over Jasper Troy at 12:04 by pinning him at the same time.
So Ryan in the chat says, do we expect Keanu to ruin Booker T Appreciation Night next week in Houston?
Yep.
Yes, yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
So this was during a commercial break. Like I said, I watch on Netflix and I pay for the ad-free stuff, so I get to watch. I get to continue watching during most commercial breaks. Booker T took his headset off, like he threw it to the ground and was completely silent. Vic was the only one in commentary throughout that entire commercial break, and maybe even for a couple minutes after they came back from the commercial. And Vic kept talking about how upset Booker T was, how pissed off he was, how he was trying to calm Booker T down. So yeah, I definitely think that that's going to be the case because they played into that quite a bit on TV, both during the commercial and a little bit after the commercial. I feel like it was a little bit more during the commercial break. Um, yeah, Jasper Troy, man. So I like the guy. I think that he's got the charisma, he's got the look, but it is that in-ring ability. You know, we've talked quite a bit about why we thought Jasper Troy was the speed champion because he could have those quick little 3 to 5 minute matches and not overexpose himself. Uh, this I think and I don't know, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist here, but I think that's the reason he got taken out in this match. Now, granted, they used it as a way to, with this Keanu Carver and Booker T angle, but the match before Jasper Troy got taken out was It was a bit of a botch fest, as Kelly brought up. I mean, he couldn't military press slam. I think it was Knight. No, I think it was Legacy to throw him onto Knight. I don't remember, but couldn't military press slam one to throw onto the other, and then admittedly turns it into a super impressive looking choke slam. But man, yeah, like if you can't do those spots, don't do them, and try to do something else that gives you that feat of strength. But anyway, before Jasper Troy got taken out of the match, it was a bit of a botch fest. I wasn't super enjoying it. The match got infinitely better after he got taken out of it when Sean and Eli were just able to kind of go at one another and showcase what they can do and their high flying stuff and all of that. And then Jasper Troy comes back and he immediately whiffs a move again. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm really high on these other two, on Knight and Legacy. I think the sky's the limit for both of these guys, but Jasper Troy, he should not be on TV right now. If they want to portray him as this, I guess, I don't know, the Obafemi replacement, maybe is the best way I can describe it. Just this big hulking dude that kind of runs roughshod over people. I think they got to take him off TV and make sure he gets some more reps, like in the Performance Center, Coconut Loop, something like that. Because this I don't think did him any favors. Maybe with the casual fan that it doesn't maybe notice, but I think to the majority of people listening to our voices and majority of people that are listening to or watching NXT, they're probably noticing that stuff. Ryan in the chat just says Jasper should go to Evolve, and I agree. I think Evolve would be a great place for him. There's less eyeballs on the product, so if there is a botch or something like that, not only could they edit it out because it's a taped show, but fewer people would see it, which would make it a lot easier to kind of reclaim any I don't know badassness that he has lost with all of that. So yeah,
As a watcher of Evolve, I don't think that they edit stuff out. I think that they leave it in warts and all, which is part of the draw of it. Because when things go awry on Evolve, um, if things are going even more awry, I'd be surprised because you see things that go awry on Evolve.
Yep.
And I'm like 8 episodes behind, which is frustrating. But there haven't been any title changes since, so at least I haven't missed that.
True. Yeah, but I think I'm good. The double pin win, I don't know. I could take it or leave it. Like Kelly says, I appreciate them trying something different, but I, I don't know. I I thought it was kind of weird, especially because a lot of times where we do see something like this, where there is a double pin, one a referee will only see one of them, not both of them, or you have two referees, for some reason in the ring. Maybe one got knocked down earlier, and somebody else comes out to take over, and then the original referee gets up and counts a pin, and it happened to be two different people pinning at the same time or whatever. So I was almost expecting like Mr. Stone to come out and restart the match between just those two or something like that. Um, so yeah, interesting. But now we know that they're going to be a tag team and they are part of that tag team tournament. So that works for me because I think I don't know. I think these two not only, I mean, they do make great opponents, but I think they could make some magic in the ring as tag team partners. You're kind of akin to Javon Evans and Leon Ruff. Leon, wow, not Leon Ruff. Oh my God, the other Leon. Um,
Slater.
TNA Leon. Slater. Thank you.
Slater.
Thank you. That was not coming to me at all. Leon Slater. You're kind of akin to those two. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with them.
All right. Before I get to the last couple segments, Ryan Solorio says, Kelly, did Nikita improve on Evolve when you were watching? Not really, but it was kind of addition by subtraction. Like a lot of the moves she was doing that were really bad were gone. When I think of Nikita in a big spot, I think of her in a tag match with I don't remember who she was with, but they were against Caden and Casey, and Caden. What was it? She was lifting up Caden for a suplex, and Caden was trying to do the thing where she reverses the suplex into a roll up, and Nikita was too dumb to understand what was going on, so she held her up. Caden like comes down for it, and then she lifts Caden up again because she didn't know what was going on. Because I just don't think Nikita's a fan of wrestling. Like I don't think that she I don't think she cares about it. So in that moment, I was just like, why? Why are we putting all this energy into her? And that was the hardest I ever went on her in a recap. I will say that those moments were gone. And she's by no means good at all. She's just mistake free now. She's fine now. And she just looks like somebody who could be in there and lose a quick match and be an okay hand for a quick match. And considering you've been paying her for 5 years, you would want her to be better than that. And she's not. So backstage stuff. Ren QCC and Miles had a scene with Joe Hendry. Ren thought that Joe Hendry would be in a refrigerator, but in the refrigerator was a cake. And then Joe Hendry showed up around the corner, and the star of the scene was Kendall Gray, who apparently really likes cake. Well, that makes two of us. So she just had a great big. She was eating it like a savage. Handful of cake, mouthful of cake, talking with cake in her mouth, and I was like, "This is by far the most interesting side of Kendall Gray we have seen. She's great in the ring, just great in the ring, but she's not really shown who she was, and I thought that this kind of humanized her. So I thought this was nice. There will be a tag team tournament that apparently is not going to be called the Dusty Classic, but the winner will get a tag team championship shot at Vanity Project, and OTM and Dark State are not allowed in because they were naughty boys. So that's too bad because OTM, it seems like that's where they're going. Next week, Vanity Project will face Rio Bravo and El Grande Americano, and it will be Booker T Appreciation Night. And for all the things he is on the mic, Booker T was awesome as a wrestler and as a wrestling character. So nothing bad to say about that. So
Can we get an "oh yeah, man"?
uh, I want to raise the roof because that's what he did during my favorite segment of him. There is a video of me and my now 21-year-old daughter where she is less than a year old. I'm watching wrestling. I didn't know my wife was videoing me. I adored Booker T. And I leaned into her and said, "Hey, are we Booker T fans?" And during his entrance and the music, I'm holding up her arms to do "Raise the Roof" with her as she's laying on my chest, and it's one of my favorite things. Thank you, Booker T. We are Booker T fans. So yeah, on that various gaggle of stuff I threw at you right now.
Yeah, so Booker T Appreciation Night, I'm for it. Like, no, he is not my favorite person on commentary, although I do think he's growing on me on commentary a little bit. I'm a little, I don't know, almost ashamed to say it, but whatever. Maybe it's because, and I didn't realize that he and Vic had been doing commentary for 3 years. I know it had been a while, but I didn't realize that until they said it tonight that it's been 3 years. So maybe it's just because I've been listening to him for 3 years that, and I've just given up on what a good announcer should be. I don't know. Anyway, but that said, I'm with you. Booker T, absolutely phenomenal talent in the ring. Seemingly a phenomenal person from everything that I know about him outside the ring. Um, runs obviously runs Reality of Wrestling that is a bit of a feeder system for WWE and NXT. So yeah, I'm fine with it. Like, why not? Let's appreciate the heck out of Booker T next week. Um, the scene with Joe Hendry, Ren QCC, and all that. I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, Joe has come out of that exact same refrigerator before, so why wouldn't Ren think that's where he was coming out of? And that is such a weird sentence to say if you're not a wrestling fan, as I'm thinking about it, but whatever. So yeah, with Kendall, what the note that I wrote down was Kendall's biggest opponent is apparently cake. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was at first. I'm like, wow, this is some like Vince level stuff. But as the scene kind of progressed, I was like, okay, I kind of like it. It doesn't seem to fit the Kendall Gray character that we've gotten so far because she's been
Well, we've gotten no Kendall Gray
well
characters
that
so
well that's kind of
so
it is it's
to
been
have
very
any is odd.
but it's been
But
very
like,
from what we have seen has been very straight laced. It hasn't
yeah, a
been
mouthful of cake and saying, "What? I don't have a match tonight." I was
yeah.
just like, dude, I love your wrestling, but I've never cared about you until now. Um, and now I do. So
Yeah, no, exactly. So I'm kind of hoping they lean into that comedy a little bit more, especially since she is partnered with Ren, who, as we discussed a little bit earlier, is a phenomenal comedic wrestler. So um, I think that pairing could level up a little bit, if they kind of continue to go in that direction. So I think those are the only two segments you called out, right?
uh that's a good question.
I think
Yeah,
so. There was
cake,
one other segment
um,
with Lola Vice and Sol Ruca backstage,
tag team
and my
tourney.
my
Oh, you
only
know what?
note,
I crossed that off and I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
but my only I don't have much to say about it other than when Sol Ruca went up and went "Hola Lola," I just started laughing because that just sounded really funny to me. "Hola Lola," it's fun to say. That's all I've got to say about that segment. Nothing really else there. So
All right, folks. I got a pack for Dallas tomorrow. Needed a short show, so we went about 20 minutes longer than usual. Sigh. I guess wrestling is what it is. and it does what it does. Plus, I have New Japan Cup matches to watch. So wrestling is what it is too. So I'm going to throw on some matches in the background and do a little bit of that. So fun enough episode of NXT tonight. I will, against all odds, hang out next week. I think, despite the fact that it definitely won't be convenient. And the week after that, I will be in Ireland. So I definitely won't be here because it will not be 7 o'clock here. I will be in the middle of the day looking at the beauty of Galway or Cork or Cove. Oh my God, I cannot wait. So there you are. I'm Kelly Wells. You can find me at other Kelly Wells on Blue Sky, at Spooky Milk, everywhere else. Nate, who are you?
Nate Lindberg. Check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. I should be here next week. I'm moving on Monday, but I should have everything set up that I'll need to podcast by Tuesday. So I will plan on being here. And if not, I will let you know. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. Next week's loaded. So let's hope we're both here. Cheers.
All right.
And I believe we will see you in 7.
Horseshoe.